And we're back. What's happening?
Welcome. Hi, Travis.
What's happening, dude?
Hey, so, another fabulous day waiting for the Trump administration to be over. That's my motto. 40 days to go.
Well, that's the thing is you got to have something to look forward to. So as long as that makes you happy, that's all I care about.
Thank you. That is adding to my happiness quotient. So,
but a lot of stuff in the news, there's never a shortage of that. But you know what I don't understand other than Mark Zuckerberg's Caesar haircut that he has going on? What the hell is that?
So bad.
It's getting worse, right?
So bad. The guy's a freak.
I mean, I don't remember it being like that.
I don't
Do you
know.
think he cuts his own hair?
I think that's what happens when you sell your soul to the devil. He starts to incrementally take away some of the good things about you.
I mean, when the hair salons were all closed and when you were smuggling someone into your house to cut your hair. Oh wait, I shouldn't say that.
Hey, you know what? You can't really tell, huh? Haircut last night.
Yeah, it looks good.
So, yeah. So I feel very trim today. So,
but yeah. Maybe he was cutting his own hair, but it looks terrible.
It looks terrible.
I'm not understanding.
You're a bazillionaire. You could have the best haircut on the fucking planet, and this is what you get. Whatever that is, what did you call it?
Caesar haircut.
Caesar haircut.
Isn't that what he had? That kind of weird.
Oh my God. Here's my motto about haircuts: try not to cut your hair so you look sick or like you have AIDS. Okay, I'm just saying.
You know who kind of has that haircut too? A little bit nowadays is Obama.
Yeah, but
you see that?
He's got a different kind of hair. So
yeah, but I don't remember it being. It's almost like he's growing it out and then combing it down forward. You have the male pattern baldness, thing, the pattern.
I don't know. It's a lot grayer than it used to be. That's what I know.
Well, that's to be expected for him, but for Zuckerberg,
yeah, this stuff on my temples has really come in nicely now. At least it's coming in nice and even, and it's on both sides.
It looks very mob boss of you.
I'm feeling mob boss these days. I got news for you. So let's see. So Mark Zuckerberg, they are coming for Mark Zuckerberg.
I don't understand that.
Antitrust, baby. Antitrust.
Do you feel like you have a good understanding of that? I mean, I want to get into this a little bit because
a little bit. Yeah, I haven't. I know that 40 states joined with the Justice Department, I think, in filing suit in antitrust. 20 Democrat states, 20 Republican states, which is important. The bipartisan buy-in on this.
Why is it? Is that just a happenstance that it's 20 and 20? Or does that mean anything?
I think they went to specific states and see if they could get the people from those states, the AGs or whatever, to get on board. It gives legitimacy, to it.
Did it have to balance out that way? Is I guess what I'm asking.
I don't think it had to do anything. I think it's just better in the long run. It's a better look for the case to have a bipartisan buy-in from 40 states is a lot of states, right? Could have been 25 and 25, but I don't know.
How many are we up to now? 50?
Yeah, 50, I guess, for now. Boy, it's going to be 52 pretty soon.
Do you think it is?
I don't know. That's a different subject. So,
but that was 52 would be Puerto Rico and DC.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's not right that those people in those states have zero representation. So, whether it's a democratic political move to shift the balance, it still serves a purpose. I mean, there are millions and millions of people in those two places, and none of them have any legislative representation of any kind.
DC is what in between Virginia and Maryland. Is that where it physically is located? I think
you're talking geography, but you better get a 6-year-old or somebody that actually knows geography.
I think that's right.
Okay,
Doug, can you have your daughter check that, please, so we know what we're talking about?
Yeah,
but it was always set up that way. So I don't know that it was set up to deliberately exclude that portion, right? It just was thought of it should be an autonomous zone or whatever the hell the idea was. And now all this time later, a couple hundred years later, many people are there, and we're saying
there's 6 million people or something,
and they have their own police force and taxes, and then you have what's the claim? No taxation without representation bullshit.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't actually be paying any taxes because they don't have any representation. In Puerto Rico, everybody in Puerto Rico is a U.S. citizen, and
which is weird to me because and I don't have a really good understanding of the Puerto Rico situation, but it's technically a U.S. territory.
It's a territory,
and it has been for shit.
Yeah, that I don't know, but a long
plus
time.
Years.
Yeah, but I mean, so that was okay, I guess, for a temporary situation or something. But those people are surely not, they're not trying to go independent or something. So, I mean, DC doesn't have a choice. We're not. Look at this little Hitler mustache I'm growing.
Yeah, it looks good on you.
Thanks, appreciate it. I don't know. It's just a dark.
Just don't do the salute. We'll make that the episode cover.
There it is, right there. Put it on the YouTube thing.
That's going on the website.
Yeah. Yeah. So not an expert on that either, but I'd like to see him have representation, and simultaneously, it will add four more senators to the Senate. And they will be they will be Democratic senators from those two areas. So
I think
that's where it needs to be.
The Puerto Rico thing. Well, here's what I was going to say about that: is the Puerto Rico thing. It's crazy to me that it's been a U.S. territory for as long as it has, and we treat it like a state, but they don't have any of the advantages of being a state. So that one, I guess, kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. But D.C., we just have to decide who we're going to give it to, in my opinion. Like, we need to give it to Maryland or give it to Virginia, and that's it. You don't get any more. It's not another state. It's not, you don't get two more senators. Just fucking pick who gets it.
I think if the people in Washington, D.C., if the residents there file for statehood, then it's kind of a let's go deal, right?
Well, what's the difference between that and the residents of any town USA deciding we want to file for statehood?
Because there is no other place in the country that is not part of a state already. So that's the one sole difference.
What about Indian reservations?
They're autonomous sovereign nations.
So
they're not part of any states.
They are. What'd you say? What's the phrase?
They're sovereign nations.
Yeah. So what does that mean? They are like the UN of Indian reservations? What does
they're
mean?
like foreign countries.
Is that why they can do whatever they want to do?
That's why they can do some of the things that they can, that they do. Right?
Can they declare statehood?
I don't think so. I don't think that they can declare statehood. There are reservations within states already. So I don't think that states have to give up any of their landmass, but the actual reservations and the people on them have a sovereign nation status.
What are they? So if you're born on an Indian reservation in the United States, maybe there exists elsewhere.
You're an American citizen.
You are, okay.
You're also a citizen of that reservation, of that sovereign nation. So it's kind of like a dual citizenship kind of situation, I believe. Not an expert on Indian affairs.
I know you spend a lot of time gambling in Indian casinos.
I have. And we better be careful because, they could end up with more money than the state they're in. And just maybe they'll buy the state, make the whole fucking state a reservation.
They probably will.
That would be good.
So, okay.
I'm real closer to offending somebody.
Close. I think you've already hit that mark.
Okay, good.
But I'm fascinated by it. We're bouncing all over, but I'm fascinated by this. So, if you're born on an Indian reservation, you have U.S. citizenship, you have statehood residency for whatever that state is, and then you have autonomous nation, tribal status, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think so.
So then you pay federal tax, and then you pay state tax of the state.
That part I don't know. It's a good question.
You think that they would
do not know that.
Excluded from that?
Yeah, don't know. Could be, property tax, could possibly, be a tribal situation. So I don't know. There's a lot to look into there. I mean, I don't really know the answers to any of those questions.
But it's interesting.
I know the minimal parts, right? Like I know that, American. What's the right name? What's the right word? It's not Indian. American.
Native American.
Native Americans are, they certainly have U.S. citizenships. They're certainly U.S.
Sure.
citizens. You know,
But that's an interesting parallel because
unless
I
they're
wasn't.
in Canada, then they're Native Americans
Fuck
in Canada.
I'm just kidding.
I still want to send the Concorde over Canada. I want to bring it back up,
Scramjet.
recondition it.
Scramjet.
Yeah, I think that would have been the solution, right? We could be flying back and forth between New York in an hour. If we just go up a little bit, fly over Canada, they'll never notice the sonic boom, and then back down a little bit and back to New York or whatever, right? It's not that far
Works
away.
for me.
Yeah, or just go out over the ocean and come back in. Like you're coming from never tell them. They'll be like, hey, what was that noise? What's that all about? So, anywhere for me to get that joke in.
No, you work it in good. I like it. So you go out over the ocean, like what, an hour, get yourself up to scramjet speed, and then jam back in over the mainland?
Right, come back in, and when they say, hey, you just flew over us and did a sonic boom, go, what the fuck are you talking about? We just came in from the east into New York from the Atlantic Ocean. Get out of here.
Yeah.
You hoser. I can't help it.
All right, listen.
Okay.
If because you brought up this Indian reservation thing, I wasn't even thinking about that, but if you said that DC can't, or what did you say? It's an autonomous zone, so therefore they can declare statehood because they don't belong to a state, but then neither does an Indian reservation, so could, theoretically, a Native American reservation state, that we have plenty of here in California anyway, could they declare themselves a state?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Why
well,
not?
I don't think anybody can declare themselves a state. I think that for instance, Puerto Rico or Washington D.C. would have to apply for statehood. I don't think you just go on Rachel Maddow's show one night and go, hey, guess what? Here's a little newsflash for you. Washington D.C., we're state now. So
why not?
Yeah, I don't think that's how it
you
works.
had these protesters in Portland. Wasn't it Portland? They declared themselves an autonomous zone. You had this restaurant in New York who declared himself an autonomous zone so he could open his restaurant.
How did all that work out?
How well did that work out? Not too good.
The autonomous zone in Seattle or Oregon or wherever the fuck it was. I saw that they let it go for a while until it got to be, because there's no trash, there's no sanitation, there's no cops in there, there's nothing. So it starts to stink, the trash piles up, and then people start committing crimes, and so they just went in and closed it down.
I like that the first problem that you think of is the trash. Like, don't you need food and water?
Well, they had food and water. They could go in and out. They just no cops were going in there for a couple of weeks or something. Just shows you what a shithole that turned into with 2 weeks of no police supervision.
Well, you can't.
You know my motto: defund the autonomous zone.
Yeah, defund anything. That's your motto. Are you in favor of DC becoming a state? Or I know I'm
okay with it.
Are you?
Good with it.
Because why?
Yeah.
You think it's a good idea, or you just want two more Democratic senators?
Both. Yes. The answer is yes to that statement. Yeah, I want two more. Look, there is a huge problem with a state like Montana, which has 25 people in it, having two senators, with both of which are Republican, and in a state like California that has 35 million people or whatever the hell
40
it is. 40 million. And we have two senators.
What's the problem?
Nonsense.
That was the way it was designed. You have the House of Representatives that's based
designed wrong. Yeah. I mean, the design of the Senate was to concentrate power among a certain group of people, and it wasn't the people in general. So, and then when you add Republican gerrymandering to the whole districts, it's just really, some things need to be changed. So this would be a good start at kind of reshuffling some of that power situation and so that would be 104 senators.
Well, again, I think the Puerto Rico thing makes sense because, why not? It's an island, right? They've been shafted for several years. We owe it to them. But DC,
we fucked them on the hurricane thing. I mean,
yep.
Trump went down there, threw him a roll of paper towels, and then said, "Hey, only 5 of you people died here. Fuck off." And then that was it. He left. 3,000 people died in Puerto Rico during those hurricanes, and they got nothing. But
3,000 people. How many Puerto Ricans does it take to equal 3,000 people?
Easy.
I'm
easy.
just
wow,
kidding. Come on, lighten up.
Oh my God! Wow. Wow.
Hey, we assassinate everybody equally. Canadians, Puerto Ricans, why not?
Yeah. Well, the French and the Canadians are I'm just going to tell you right now, they're not. They're open targets for me to make jokes about. I can't help it. So that's just how that goes.
We need to laugh more. I mean, in this world of cancel culture and everybody's so sensitive, like I wonder, for you Democrats, could you even, when the comedy clubs open again, could you even go? Would you find any humor funny? Because you're not allowed to laugh at anything.
Here's the thing. Only Democrats make comedy. I mean, there are no good Republicans.
Yeah,
comics,
what about that
right?
Get Her Done guy?
He's a redneck, not a Republican.
Oh, okay. What's the difference? I'm teeing you up here, buddy.
Well, the guy we want to think of there is one pretty far right wing comedian, and he's pretty funny. And I'm never going to think of his name. You don't know who I'm talking about, right?
Well, there's a few names I'm thinking of. I don't know who you're thinking of. How about Tim Allen? That's a big name. Home Improvement. What's the other show he's got?
Yeah, he was a good comedian, but
he was hilarious.
I don't know but he doesn't really run around talking about being a Republican like the guy I'm thinking of.
He's got a whole show about it. Last Man Standing.
Yeah. So.
But I think, all right, what are you showing me here? Don't show me your dick pics. It's inappropriate. Oh, don't worry about that.
Okay.
But what I made that statement about comedians, it's because it's mostly what I perceive to be the left side of your peeps criticize everything. They can't laugh, can't have a joke. So that's all I'm saying. Lighten up.
I don't know. I think the best comics in the world are all left wing. I mean, and I cannot get. You know what? This thing with the names, I need Prevagen or something that they.
What is that? Like remdesivir?
That's like a memory. It's like a memory thing, right? Comes from jellyfish or something. That's the advertising. Who's the guy that Jon Stewart, right?
Yeah. No,
I'm the best comedian on the planet,
he's
right?
funny.
That's the funniest guy in the world.
No, he's
right?
not. There's only one
and I
answer.
like his replacement a lot too.
Who's
right?
this?
The guy that took over the Daily Show, the guy from
Gilbert
South
Gottfried?
Africa. No, Gilbert Gottfried. I love him.
Elon Musk.
Is he?
You said the guy from South Africa.
Elon Musk. Hey, what's Elon Musk doing? I saw his picture in the in my browser. Something about he's telling the media to fart off or something. I don't know.
Well, he's
Did you hear
moving to
anything about
Texas because why not? We're all moving to Texas.
He's moving to Texas.
Yes. And he
Okay.
also, they just had a rocket launch that landed really hard and caught fire pretty bad. Basically
Yeah,
blew
but
the
it
fuck
was
up.
a success. I mean, there was nobody in it.
Right.
It just came down a little hard. I've seen the video on that. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is really
You like
cool.
Plane Crash? You didn't see it?
I
Have you
did
seen
see it. Of course I saw it.
Yeah, it comes down hard and then blows up. Boom.
To me, it looked like they shoot this thing up. It's got like 3 engines, and they deliberately turn off each engine one at a time, and then it slowly starts to fall back down. But then it gets horizontal and it's gliding because that's what it's meant to do. And
Well, this one had wings on it too.
yeah, had
Remember?
wings.
See that?
And then they fire the engines back up. Then it goes upright, and the whole idea is that it's going to land back down, kind of like a Harrier jet, so it's going to land and take off vertically. It just looked to me like they fire up the engines too late, and it hit the ground really hard and caught fire.
Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff. I mean, the let me think here. The guys the capsule that comes back. So when the guys come back from the space station, they land upright. Yeah.
You mean now? I don't know how they do it. Don't they drop them in the ocean?
Are they still dropping them in the ocean? Maybe.
I
I don't
don't
know if I don't know if they're landing manned vehicles like that. I mean, all of the rocket boosters, from the last 2, they just went up last week or the week before.
Yeah.
They just sent a manned flight, full crew, 5 people or something, 1 woman, part of that crew, and so they want to put the rocket boosters all come back down and land on the barge out in the ocean. So I don't know. This one that blew up here recently was some prototype that had wings on it and was supposed to be part of the Mars.
I got to see this.
Stuff.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so-
the old space shuttle technology, you would, glide back down. And before that, with the Apollo stuff, you just drop into the ocean.
Drop into the ocean. These guys aren't going. I'm trying to remember. Wait, right? No, I didn't have time to look that one up since. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. I'm glad to see the space program going on. So whatever, Elon's kind of crazy.
But
so he's moving to Texas. Is that what his? Is that why he's in the news today? He's moving to Texas or something?
I don't know if that's why he's in the news.
Media?
Well, he's listen, he's one of the few, maybe the only. Maybe Toyota's got a factory. I don't know, but it's like him and maybe one other small little factory who makes cars in California. They were shut down in March because of the scamdemic, and I'm not sure if they're shut down again. But he's pissed off about that. And
Fremont, that's up in Fremont.
Yep, and they, Texas has over the last several years. I remember the Texas governor came to California. This was, I don't even know if it's the same governor. And it wasn't when Newsom was in office on our side. I think it was Brown. But the Texas governor came to California and made a pitch to businesses. He had a business roundtable, and it's like, hey, come to Texas. We're business friendly. We'll give you all kinds of tax breaks, and we want you here, and we know your state doesn't. And a lot of people did.
Yeah.
So Elon's been talking about that. I think he set up a huge factory somewhere outside of Austin.
Here's all I think about when I think about Texas is just because I've known people that moved out there, and all they talk to me about is how bad the bugs are out there.
Have you been there?
No. No,
yeah, but
never
the barbecue's good.
Barbecue's good in my backyard. I have to go to Texas. I'm sorry.
Well, would you, would you wear cowboy boots?
No.
You wouldn't have to tuck your shirt in, though.
No, there's nothing in Texas. Nothing I want to see. No reason I would ever go there. No.
But don't get to the point where you are one of these guys that stops taking in new ideas. Texas could be a good thing.
Well, it's good. It'd be good with or without me. Trust me on that.
Well, that's true.
I have no doubt there are good places that I'm not at. And in many places, far more places I will never see than I will see. So that's not a big deal for me. A lot of people, you have the Wanderlust.
If Texas has casinos, will you go?
Well, they have casinos. And I have casinos here, but I'm done with casinos anyway.
Are you?
Right? Yeah.
Because of COVID or just because you're done gambling?
No, because I'm done smoking. So, and I'm done gambling, right? I mean, the two things, it's like, I used to be this really crazy kind of thrill about gambling that I used to really enjoy, There's something kind of forbidden about it or kind of exciting. I've had gone lots of times, I've lost lots of money. I've had a few. And here's the thing. I've had a few decent trips. That's it. That's the best I can say. I've never gone and hit $5,000 or something like that. The best is I've gone and lost like $3,000. And then in the last 20 minutes of the trip, I've won back 700 and I feel pretty good about it. Something like that.
So a win is like, pay for your trip and you feel pretty good.
If I can go and gamble and, break even, I'm okay with that. But it's no big deal. And here's the thing. You used to sit in those places and drink for free and smoke, and that's all done. That's all in the past, right?
You drink for free because you were gambling?
Yeah. If you're gambling, they give you free drinks, and not on the Indian casinos, right? There's no free alcohol. You can get free. It's been good since I stopped drinking, which has been quite a long time. And I go to Indian casinos because I can still get all the free Coke and stuff I want there. Coca-Cola, Diet Coke. Sorry.
You know what my trick was on the drinking and gambling thing? I used to go out to Vegas a lot and Laughlin and wherever I could go. And you're right. You're gambling. Whatever game I could stretch out the longest. For me, it was roulette. I could play for at least.
I like roulette.
Yeah, over an hour.
I still like roulette.
But what I found that worked, I don't know if they do it anymore, but what I would do is go to the sports book and I would pick something that would last forever. Like the best thing that ever I could do was like a NASCAR race that had a rain delay or something. It was like a fucking 5-hour event and you just keep me bringing the Heinekens,
Would they keep bringing you beer? I don't know how that works.
They would, yeah. Long time ago. I don't know if they do anymore.
Wow. Last time I was in a sport book was when I placed a $20 bet for you on the, who's your team? The Saints or something?
Yeah, I think we won too.
Something. I don't remember. It was a Super Bowl bet. I don't think you won.
No, it wasn't. No, because they haven't been. But it was, I remember it was.
I was there and I was talking to you on the phone or something. You go, hey, throw down a 20 for me on the Saints to win the Super Bowl. I think I was there in, I don't know. I don't even know if it was football season or something.
Well, no, I think we won that bet.
Did you?
I think so.
You did. I didn't put anything on it.
Well, shame on you.
I'm trying to remember if you won it, how you got your money. Did you go there?
You know what? Maybe we didn't win. Because I don't remember collecting anything.
I kind of vaguely remember, like, all right, well, he lost, so there's no worry about collecting because you have a time limit. You know, you got to pick it up before. You can't come back 5 years later. Go, hey, I won a bet back in 2005, and I'm here to pick up the money. Here's my.
Well, speaking of time limits, let's get back to this.
Yeah.
Is how long? I said something a while ago, a couple of podcast episodes ago, that Democrats would try to make D.C. and Puerto Rico a state, and maybe some of this was retaliation for the Trump Supreme Court picks. But do you have any idea how long that even takes? Can you get something like that done pretty quickly?
I don't think that if they wanted to do it, I don't think they would. Here's the thing: if they don't have the Senate, I don't think they're going to get it done. So if they have the Senate, it's a done deal. I mean, they can do it if they decide to do it. It was never something that that Biden signed on to.
Yeah,
that was never something he said, yeah, I'm doing that. But I mean, frankly, I heard the numbers the other day. So I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about this particular issue, but I heard the numbers. It's millions and millions of people. It's like 11 million people in Puerto Rico and 6 million in DC. And that just seems ridiculous that the better part of 15 or 20 million people don't have representation.
Where do they fall?
Doesn't.
Is it just like, where do they fall? I don't even know.
What do you mean? Where do they fall?
Like, what's their jurisdiction?
If they're in Puerto Rico, they fall.
They fall into the ocean? Do they have to pay federal income tax?
That I don't know. I would think they do if they're American citizens. I'm pretty sure they pay income tax.
What about, because they're not, don't we have Guam too?
There's
so ignorant
Guam,
right now.
I think, and
know.
American Samoa. And, there's a couple of places that we have that are territories, but Puerto Rico is the one that has been talked about the most. And of course, DC. It's just, I mean, I guess for me, other than the self-serving acquisition of 2 more senators for Washington, DC, which would almost assuredly be Democrats, I guess, if there was some way to incorporate them into one of their surrounding states.
That makes the most sense.
But I don't know why it was ever set up like this to begin with, right? I mean, I don't really know. Was there some reason they thought that the location of the capital needed to be not a state or something? I don't even know.
I don't get that either.
It's a district, I guess, right? District
Columbia, for that matter. Where the fuck is Columbia? Why is that in? That's not here.
Was this have something to do with cocaine?
I don't know.
Columbia.
What did they know that we don't know?
I don't know. Maybe it was a cartel. Yeah. So I don't know. I'd like to get the 4 senators, the 4 more senators, and from probably forever Democratic, states. I think that would be good.
Do you have any idea what the Puerto Ricans are saying? Do they want this?
I think they do. I think they feel like they got fucked. When the hurricane, hit them, I mean, they got nothing. They got no federal aid. They just basically got shit on. I mean, wow, it's just so terrible. I mean, this was one of Trump's really low points, right? And yeah, I just don't.
What's it? Know. What do you think it's worth? Could we sell it?
Sell it. Too.
Like, what do you think Russia would pay for it?
Big Russia. Wow.
I mean, listen, we got all these trillions of dollars we've spent. We got this deficit because of the COVID. So maybe we could raise some cash.
We're not heading for any new listeners there.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I think it's okay because I doubt seriously we're popular in Puerto Rico or Washington.
Well, they don't have internet. That's why.
Oh my God.
I can keep going.
Yeah.
Wow. What were we even talking about? We were talking about Zuckerberg and his Caesar haircut.
Well, we started to talk about, I thought we were going to talk about a little bit about antitrust.
Yeah, okay. So he's in the news, not because of his Caesar haircut.
Yeah, they've been indicted. So there's a hearing or whatever the hell's happened. So there's a big antitrust case coming for Facebook. They're going to break them up. Probably what's going to happen is they're going to have to unwind the Instagram acquisition is probably the biggest thing. So that'll probably be the outcome of it. And that'll probably be the end of it. They've been, I don't know if you've noticed, but as it became apparent that that Joe Biden won, that there would be a Biden-Harris administration, at least for the next 4 years, You notice they started to.
Hey, I
they
talked
started
to somebody
to
today.
label.
Sorry to interrupt you. I talked
Yeah.
to somebody today that we both know. I can't say who it is. That said to me, just kind of casually through the conversation, said, so if the Electoral College does in fact go ahead, how did he word it? If for some reason, if somehow they, the Electoral College confirms Biden, one of the, I'm like, what do you mean if somehow? Like, that's a foregone conclusion. Silence. It was silence on the line, I'm like, so they're still out there.
I think this is more, for me, this will be more interesting than, I've already told you just about everything I know about the antitrust thing, and Facebook. They're coming to break them up.
But how do you agree with that though?
The Facebook thing?
Like I know the events and this in the news and they're talking about it. I don't understand the logic there. I certainly don't agree with it. I mean, so they have this, what I've been reading is they have this monopoly and they've used their evil powers to take over other businesses and or suppress the competition, something like that.
Right.
I don't know that anything's been illegal about it. And by the way, didn't the fucking government approve the acquisition of these other entities? Like when they bought Instagram? Is it Instagram? I'm not even sure
about that.
They own WhatsApp.
Part of the thing with Instagram, I think, you know what? It's WhatsApp, I think.
WhatsApp, and there's another one.
Well, it's Instagram
Twitter.
and WhatsApp.
And Twitter, right?
They don't own Twitter. Twitter's another company. But here's the thing. I think maybe WhatsApp was never actually approved. So nothing was done, if I understand. So I'm not positive about that. So I think they may have Facebook cut loose WhatsApp and Instagram, and then, that probably will satisfy it because.
But how is that even legal to force a company to, they're basically stealing, which the government's in the business of stealing things these days by forcing closures, but that's another story. But they would be stealing their businesses. Like, would they, it's analogous to eminent domain with real estate, right? The government can come in and take your property to build a freeway, but they have to pay you for it.
Well, this involves the name of this case, antitrust. So we trust certain companies that run as monopolies, right? Not to abuse.
What's
that
the abuse?
Position. The way that everything you listed it out pretty well. I don't have it at the top of the anti-competition situation and using their monopoly position to crush competition and that's all. You're not supposed to do that. When the U.S. government, when the people of the United States allow a company to become and be a monopoly, right, which is illegal. Okay.
Well, you just said the government allowed
then we
it.
trust them, right? And then when they abuse that trust, we call it, here it comes, folks, antitrust.
Wait a minute. So you just said if the government approves them to be a monopoly and then
allows them to be a monopoly. Yeah.
But here's it's kind of interesting. Go back. It's like the chicken and the egg. So, I'm a capitalist. That's, through and through.
Nothing anti-capitalist about keeping an eye and antitrust, enforcing antitrust provisions on monopolies. There's nothing anti-capital. In fact, one of the most pro-capitalist things you can do is make sure that you keep an eye on monopolistic industries like this because they kill innovation. Okay.
They kill innovation.
WhatsApp will become, once they unspool WhatsApp from Facebook, it's going to become very the innovations, the possibility for the innovations from WhatsApp are going to be great. It's going to be great for everybody, but they're stagnated right now. They're just what they are. They haven't come up with anything new. There's nothing new on WhatsApp. It's ever since they've been acquired by Facebook, because Facebook just keeps them in a certain place where whatever they are doesn't take away from what Facebook is, and that's antitrust, right?
But
there.
How is that? That to me is meddling in a business's business, for lack of a better term. In other words, WhatsApp is a communication tool, right?
Who's the failed person you voted for president? Joe Johansson, Joe Johnson, Joe Jorgensen.
Yeah,
what was her name?
Joe Jorgensen.
Joe Jorgensen. Okay, you and Joe. right? And all of the libertarians are not living in the real world, right?
Listen, I'm trying to shed some light on this subject because I don't agree with what I'm hearing. It sounds all pretty fucking shady to me. Basically it sounds like sore losers. You have people, in this case, the government, saying, "Hey, we don't like what we're seeing because it's not allowing competition." But what I was going to say about a monopoly, when you take an idea to fruition, an idea, like, this is the capitalist in me, an idea that nobody thought of, you come up with a product or a service that everybody wants, that to me is innovation, entrepreneurship, and at the heart of capitalism. So when you come up with something that doesn't exist before, you're the first, you're the pioneer. By definition, you have a monopoly because you're the only one. And then let the market decide if you grow, if you can survive. But I guess in private business, when we stomp the competition, when we win, when we, get more sales, when we force the car dealer, we have a car dealership and we force the other car dealership to close. We don't really, but because our sales are better, I mean, that's just sales 101. So I don't understand how it's antitrust.
Yeah, I think that and I'm not an expert on this at all, but I think that there are, so how do I put this? You have to allow that competition, right? So if you become too large, right? So you acquire
you're a
bunch
victim
of
of your own success.
I guess I don't know.
That's
I
fucked
don't
up.
know
That's
how
the
you
losers.
libbies-
That's the loser's limp.
I don't know how you libbies look. You know what I heard the other day, that, and I don't know how much you know about this guy, but he used to be the head of the whole libertarian thing, Ron Paul.
Yeah,
Right. Which is, what's his son's name?
Rand
Paul. So
because that's a
he's
good name.
He's some dickhead's Republican senator. So Ron Paul, isn't
he an independent?
Who?
Rand?
No, he's a Republican.
Ron Paul, by the way, he talks a lot about the end of the world, and he's a conspiracy theorist and all that shit.
His big thing when he wasn't old and crazy, when he was the head of the Libertarian Party, and he was damn near a cult figure, and he ran for president many times. And you know what his big issue was?
Monopolies?
Being allowed, that he was pissed that the government would not allow him to drink unpasteurized milk.
Why should the government decide what you drink?
Because it's fucking dangerous. Unpasteurized milk, there's a lot of foodborne pathogens in unpasteurized milk, and it's dangerous.
Why can't he drink it? What's the difference between that and Coke? Coke is dangerous. Of course, the government's consistent there, too, with taking people's soft drinks away. The sugar police.
Oh, Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about
Coke. If it's dangerous, should you have manufacturing that is allowed to go on? I mean, I don't know, but certainly somebody should be allowed to drink it.
I think there's a line that is drawn when it comes to actual medical illnesses, that some type of situation like non-pasteurized milk, confer. I think if he owns a cow and he wants to suck on the teat of the cow, I think that's allowed. But
I agree with that.
I don't think that you can. Here's the thing too, right? You can't take. Here's what it really was. His big thing was that he wasn't allowed to transport a non-pasteurized milk across state lines.
This fucking guy, really?
That's the hero of your present political party preference.
I mean, come on. Don't we have bigger fish to fry? What are we doing?
Well, that's what I thought when I heard about it. So, don't you have any clips today? I thought you look like you're reaching for the clip button. So.
No, I'm cough muting myself. I've been talking all day and kind of losing my voice a little bit.
That's right. You've been on the phone for a while. So
the government is going to decide who gets to succeed in business. Here they are again. And Facebook has this monopoly. But did you hear what I said a minute ago about this eminent domain? If the government steals your house to build a highway, they have to pay you for it. So are they going to pay these guys when they steal their business? How is that legal?
I don't think so.
Well, that's not right.
I mean, it's not eminent domain. I mean, antitrust is not eminent domain.
I know. I'm using that as an example because.
Well, I mean, if they use eminent domain to buy a house to widen a freeway, they're going to pay somebody for it.
But now they're taking this company that they've approved these acquisitions. They've approved the Securities and Exchange Commission has approved them to be publicly traded companies.
Well,
so there is regulation.
But you're always, after you have an acquisition and a merger like that approved, you're always subject to the regulation, the antitrust regulations.
I know, I get it.
With that.
But every one
once
of these,
you violate them, then they can revoke.
But see, here's the thing: is it a violation or? So they're a public company. They've got these other entities. They report quarterly at the Securities and Exchange Commission,
dude.
And then
change the law
because that's what we should do.
Well, I mean, that's what you need to do. I mean, ranting about how you don't like the fact that they're going to enforce the antitrust laws that everybody has up to this point agreed are needed and are there for a reason. If you don't like them, then convince them that we shouldn't have those laws. But right now, you need to get out of the way because they're coming for Facebook.
Yeah, but
and
is it only
Google,
are they
and
after
then
them?
All of them.
Are they after them because they're succeeding and? Like, in other words, they've been reporting on their business activities and their financials.
They're coming after them because they have used unscrupulous policies in regards to how they handle their competition.
Okay, so right there,
and they violated the law.
Is it and so that is what measured because there's no competition
by the law.
No, but here's that you're saying that they are victimizing the competition illegally in this respect is what you're saying. But if if there was additional competition and the competition was succeeding, would this all be for nothing? Is the fact that we're saying, hey, there's no competition to these guys, so they must be doing something illegal?
Well, if there was competition that was succeeding, then there would be no antitrust claims.
You said it much better than I did.
And there wouldn't be a monopoly, right? So,
but there's not. There was competition.
No competition.
There was. It was called WhatsApp, and Facebook bought it. It was already out there.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's one of the tactics that they don't like. I mean, when your sole reason for an acquisition is to cannibalize your competition, then that can backfire on you. And at some point, the government may come to you and say, "Hey, that's not what you told us."
But can I say something?
Happen.
These people, this business and other businesses, they don't have a right to succeed. They don't have a right to be in business. So these sheeple don't have to use their product. If they think it's somehow not fair that, you've taken away my choice, you've taken away the competition by acquiring them, well, don't fucking use their service anymore.
Somewhere you got to climb back into the real world, Travis.
But the problem is we live in this alternate universe. We got to be thinking outside the box here.
I'm not antitrust, so I don't think I can really see that perspective on it. I mean, here's the thing. So Facebook went 4 straight years letting fucktard say
Caesar
whatever he wanted on Facebook and Twitter, but Twitter's a different story. But Facebook went all through this whole last, let's call it decade, right? And not only while they were becoming a giant monopoly and they were, they were not obeying the antitrust laws, they were also not taking responsibility for what was happening on their platform. And
with the political stuff?
Yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing. Just straight up misinformation, terrorist organizations on Facebook, just misinformation, the kind of stuff we're seeing come pouring out of Trump's mouth constantly now. But that's just that. I mean, Facebook was the home for all of the, I'm going to forget the name of it, ISIS, right? Mm-hmm. Facebook was the home for ISIS. It's where ISIS radicalized the thousands of people that ended up in their ranks. It was Facebook. It was and similar platforms that say, hey, it's not us. And that's why Trump wants to get rid of the 230 regulation, the 230 rule, which is the one that lets all these kind of platforms not be responsible for what's on them. So, I'm not in favor of, did you hear about this? Trump wanted to tie passing I don't have the right name for it, the military bill that pays for everything military, that just is going through the
the defense
House
budget
and the Senate. Yeah, so he wanted to tag on eliminating this 230 rule that allows Facebook and Twitter and some of them to not have any responsibility for what's on their platforms. He wanted that tagged on to that, and even the Republican Senate said, no, fuck face, we're not doing that. He's only doing that because he's pissed at them, because they're all putting tags on his tweets and his posts saying that, hey, this is misinformation. Right,
which is a whole other can of worms, because what you were saying about, Facebook was the platform and responsible for allowing some of these terrorist messages to be spread. They were also
now because they see Trump is out and they know that Biden and Harris are coming for him. So only now did they decide to start trying to step up. They could have been doing it all along, Travis. They certainly have the money. They make gazillions in profits. So it was never a matter of like, hey, we couldn't afford to do this. They just didn't do it because why? Because they didn't have to. And there was no way that the Trump administration or the Republican administration, whatever you want to call it, was going to make them do it, because that doesn't work in their best interest. The whole Republican Party is all about misinformation, just straight up lying to the American people every way they can about everything they can. And so they would certainly not want these platforms to take responsibility, but they are, because they know, even if the stupid fucking Senate and the Republican Party doesn't know, that Biden won, and that's going to be a Biden administration pretty quick. And we don't know what's going to happen in Georgia. It doesn't look good to me, but there's 2022, and there could be.
But where do you
change.
Go back to something? Where do you draw the line between, dangerous terrorist groups using a platform like Facebook to spread information, the fact that was the major platform for Russia's involvement in the 2016 election, which, let's be clear, their only involvement was to attempt to sway a particular group of people to vote for one candidate over the other. The Russians didn't cast fake votes, which, let's get that out of the way. But where do you draw the line between that and fast forward all the way to now, where basically you have censorship? And I get it. I'm a realist. You and I spend hours upon hours talking about this. Trump, he spreads misinformation. Another word for that is lies. I mean, obviously he lies in most of what he says, but should he be allowed to say it? And that's what really concerns me. Is I understand why he became the target and the poster boy for censoring information. Almost everything he says, mostly on Twitter and on Facebook, is got the little tagline, this is disputed, this claim about election fraud is disputed. And I understand that, because that's a fact. But it's dangerous waters we're in, where you have these big media companies deciding who they're going to censor. And an example of that is when you had other people, not Trump and not even necessarily elected officials, you had everyday people on Facebook and Twitter who were sharing tweets and Facebook posts of information that just, was true, and it was just not outside the mainstream media's narrative, and they didn't want people to know about it. Like the Hunter Biden thing.
Say that again. Say that again.
What I'm basically saying is, where do you draw the line on censorship?
Well, okay. So, number one, to the best of my knowledge, Donald Trump, the biggest liar we've ever seen in our fucking lifetimes, and the king of now just, complete misinformation all the way around, just lying and nonsense, sedition, treason, right? He has not been stopped from saying or doing anything.
Right. So why should he be stopped? Because he's the president?
They have simply put banners on these tweets and these posts on Facebook saying that, hey, other sources, reliable sources, dispute this information, to warn people that this could be straight up nonsense, right?
Isn't it sad that we need to warn people because they're so stupid they're going to believe everything they read?
Well, I mean, here's the part that's sad, that someone who will soon be the ex-president of the United States has to be handled in that manner by responsible media companies, right? I mean, so I'm not a fan of censorship. right? And again, I don't think they've stopped him from saying anything on their platforms. They are not the news. They're not newspapers. They're not on public broadcasting bands, right? That are owned by the public, where to broadcast on those bands, you have to agree to certain standards. They're not part of that, right? And so there's no incumbent reason for them to let anybody say whatever the fuck they want to say, especially and reasonably when it's wrong or simply dangerous. And here's the thing. If someone wants to say, hey, I got up today and the sky was green and my milk was blue, okay, I don't think they need a
Is that what unpasteurized milk is?
Yes, it is.
Is it blue?
And yeah, that's blue. But if that was going to cause, there's no real harm being done there. But the stuff that Trump talks about, the things that him and the Republicans are doing on the social media platforms are dangerous. They're dangerous for our democracy.
Let me interject
time. Here. Yeah.
But I don't disagree with you because I happen to know that that's right. You know what I'm saying? Like he lost. There was no fraud. Biden's going to be the president, and so that's why it's true. But let's say it wasn't. Like, would you stand up for a guy who, if there was, really bad shit going on, and there was a fraudulent election, and the guy in power was saying, "No, I'm not going to take this sitting down. This is bullshit," and he was doing what Trump is doing. Would that be okay, or is it only because we know it happens to not be true?
I'm just going to ask you to say it one more time because I'm not sure I follow exactly. So you're trying to like flip it, which is always a good practice, I think. So try to flip it around and say, hey, if it was the other way around, would it still be the case?
Yes. In other words,
right?
if what Trump was saying wasn't a lie, if what he was saying is, hey, people, you need to really, we've got evidence. There is actual proof here. And I'm not saying there is. There's not.
Let's just take it to 2024, right? Who's likely to put out a bunch of lying bullshit out there to try to screw up the next election?
But
it looks to me like it's not going to be. Apparently the Russians failed. We're not going to have to worry about anybody except the Republican Party, except Trump and his Trumpsters or whatever the hell you want to call them, right? So Biden's going to run for another term. Or Harris or whoever, right? So
Biden's
maybe he's not going to run
anywhere.
for another term. Huh?
Biden's not running anywhere.
You're right. Well, he runs more than Trump.
That's true.
Trump can bring, that big fat ass picture you put up on YouTube on our thing of him playing. Oh my God. For our listening audience, if you haven't gone to YouTube and searched Couch Funeral on YouTube, our current podcasting
exploits
company, yeah, we're posting our episodes now on YouTube, and evidently Travis has the ability to put a different picture up on that. It's a static picture, so I think the first episode that went up was what is our logo, but this time you put up a picture of Trump playing tennis, and
I put up the one that you said you couldn't unsee.
I'm seeing it right now, and I'm having a hard time talking. So go look at it, and then it'll be in your mind forever. So,
but
it's kind of an eye worm. So
this
go ahead.
Whole thing about just the situation we're in and Trump spewing all this stuff. You asked me the other day about Ethiopia, and I wasn't really, I'm still not qualified to talk about it, but I did look it up a little bit, and it seems to me that what's going on there is, not out of the realm of possibility that could happen in this country. And, civil unrest to say the least. But again, I don't have a complete understanding about what's going on there. But at the end of the day, it has to do with elections. It has to do with, current parties. And they canceled their 2020 election because of COVID. There's some border issues going on in the north. There's, what's that country? I forget, to the north of Ethiopia that was annexed some years ago. And there's, all kinds of issues with who's supplying who with weapons and this and that. And at the end of the day, you have both sides saying, one side saying it's a fraudulent election because you didn't do it, and the other side saying, well, then you're not really the valid president because you didn't have an election. And I'm not qualified to speak to who's
canceling an election
is not good, right?
I mean, that's not good. I mean, that's one. I mean, there's a real life example of why canceling elections is not good, and why there's in my mind, I can't see any real reason why you would cancel an election. But I mean, that's because however you go forward after you cancel that election, somebody thinks it's invalid, right?
Yeah, and I think you had said something like, is the U.S. going to get involved? But from what I understand, the current president there, he's a guy most people like. The international community likes him. He's doing a lot of good things. For the most part, he's been a pretty good, leader, humanitarian. He's good on the international stage.
But do we figure out why so many people, why there's such a
he canceled the election
of refugees out of the country? But why are people leaving the country if he's a good guy?
Well, it's because you have this one party, and there was a lot of, I think there was like 10 or 11 ethnic groups that also had political affiliations over time. Because for the longest time, it was like a Soviet-controlled country. They had Soviet backing up, through really maybe the late 60s, certainly all the 70s and 80s, and then when the Soviet Union collapsed in 91, Ethiopia
was
collapsed.
Her power vacuum.
Then you basically had a redistribution and a collaboration of these remaining political parties who kind of came together. Obviously, there's a lot of religious issues when that happens. Again, there's the country, is it Eritrea, I want to say, that's north of Ethiopia, that was, I think, part of Ethiopia, and then now is annexed to its own country.
I can't tell if that's part of Ethiopia or part of the Marvel universe. I'm not sure. Eritrea. I can't.
I know, right? Sounds like a villain. I would say villain, but so what you have is people declaring who's in charge, what political party is the valid party in power, and now what I think you're having is this is based on geographic separation. So Addis Ababa, the capital, that's what, center of the country, maybe southern part of the country, and then is it Tigray? I don't know if I'm saying that right, is in the north, and that's where one of these other, like the opposing political party, and so they're cutting each other off. Like the government, the guy in power now who canceled the elections, they've cut off electricity, internet, services from going in on the north because that's their political foe. The guys in the north are being accused of getting help from Eritrea. So what side are they on? There's now killings of people who are, let's say they're, again, I might be getting this wrong, whether it's Tigray, that's the northern region, but they live in the south, so the southern guys are attacking and killing them. I mean, it's just a complete fucking mess. It's basically a civil war. But it's all because of disagreement and a power grab on who's in charge. And Ethiopia is not the only country in recent memory that's happened to. God, what is it? Venezuela? And it's got to be another one that was in the news. I'm losing it today. But it could be America.
This authoritarian strongman type of movement throughout the world is not a good thing.
It's not.
It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for us. It's not a good thing for the places where it's happening. And it's one of the reasons why we have to stop fucking around and call what's gone on here what it is, right? And I just am not going to be okay with some kind of moral equivalency between free speech and the horseshit that's been coming out of Donald Trump. What he's doing and so I don't know how much longer we're going to be on today, but I will say that the main thing that I'm unhappy about right now is that so we talked about Texas a little bit earlier, right?
Don't pick on Texas.
Texas, well, they're spearheading a very dangerous, treasonous, seditious movement right now. The stupid fucking attorney general in Texas filed a lawsuit, right, with the Supreme Court, filed a brief with the Supreme Court to overturn the election.
They're demanding. Is this the thing that they're demanding? There's like a couple other states that signed on to this too, and they're demanding that the
Well, there's
Isn't there a couple states?
There's 16 other states.
Oh, is it 16?
There's 16 other attorney generals, right? From Republican from states with Republican Republican governing state governments, right? And so this John Cornyn or Cornhole or whatever his fucking name is from Texas has filed this amicus brief with the Supreme Court, and he's asking the Supreme Court to overturn the election results in Georgia and Pennsylvania and Michigan and I don't know, a couple other places, right? And Wisconsin, and they're like, what? Of course, it's not going to be heard, but the damage is done by it being done. And so 16 other attorney generals from 16 other states have signed on to the amicus brief. Trump signed on to it. And
of course, Trump signed on to it.
160 Republican Congress people have signed on to it. So that's really the bad part. Some of that you can understand. Forget, because here's the thing. Why did this Texas Attorney General do this? He's under investigation by the FBI for, I don't know, money laundering or some horseshit. He's gonna go to jail. He's gonna be under indictment pretty fast. He did this to secure a pardon from Trump, who's handed him out like candy, right?
Well, but isn't this is a Supreme Court matter, right? I mean, that's the only appeal.
Well, yeah, they're not going to.
Right, they've already said.
I don't think they've already said yet. I think they had till today or yesterday or today to the states that were named in this suit to reply. And of course, they all replied with "Go fuck yourself." Mm-hmm. What business is of yours? Get the hell out of our election business and all the rest of it. Those states are Republican. That's Kemp. Georgia is a Republican governor, right? So I mean, this is the kind of shit that sets the stage for us for our elections to become delegitimized for no real reason. And that's dangerous. So this kind of free speech is dangerous.
Are you saying this free speech is the same thing as shouting fire in a movie theater?
Absolutely, it's the same thing. And we better wake up and realize that. And
so what do you do about it?
Nobody should be making any false moral equivalencies between this fucking shit that Trump and his treasonous, seditious Republican cronies are doing and free speech. All right, listen. They are not the same thing.
But for the record, I agree with what you're saying. I agree with the fact that this is a non-issue in the sense that there's nothing there. But what do you do about it? I mean, even if you censor the speech, that doesn't mean that these attorney generals aren't going to take the action that they're taking, right?
So here's the problem. So who should be doing what, right?
No, who is on first?
Right, who's on first? So the Republican Party needs to do something. I mean, this will be their death. So, and there are plenty of
But what do you do as a party?
Non-elected officials.
What do you say to the attorney generals? You're not we're going to take away your Republican card if you don't stop this? I mean, what power do you have?
Well, I mean, that's what we got to think about here, right? I mean,
firing squad? I mean, where do we go with this?
Well, oh God.
Well, can I just interject here? Here's what the really terrible job I did about telling the Ethiopian story. I was
trying to save you from that by getting back to it.
Well, what I was thinking about though is this country isn't immune to something like that, and maybe what you're talking about is an example of how that could happen.
Yeah, that's why I tried to bring. I mean, that's the reason why they're in that kind of shit. There is decades and decades of misinformation and strongman authoritarian rule and nonsense, right? And it's our democracy here that's in danger. And when the speech, when the practices, I mean, here's the thing, Travis, the duly elected Congress, exercised their constitutional duty to exercise oversight over what the president of the United States is doing. They found him to be they impeached him and sent it to the Senate. And by all rights, that Senate, because there was tons of evidence, he absolutely did what he was accused of, what he was impeached for, should have been found guilty and removed. That's what that process is for, to stop this kind of shit from happening, to nip in the bud the abuse of power by someone like someone like Trump.
Don't you think, given where we are now,
that did not happen? Well, go ahead, ask your question. I think everybody gets the point.
I was going to say, don't you think, given where we are now, about the whatever you said, 16 state attorney generals who are behind this, these shenanigans, I almost think it would have been worse if he was ousted. I mean, what you're basically saying is the Senate was never going to convict him because he's their guy. And so, guilty or not, they would have looked past anything that was brought before them. So he was acquitted. That's what happened. And that was, what the hell was that? 6 months ago? A year ago? I don't even remember.
That was, January, right?
So I'm just wondering if he had been ousted, if it would have been almost worse than what we're seeing now with challenging the election. I have to think, if we're seeing the crazy shit we're seeing now with these attorney generals and all this claim about election fraud and overturning, throwing out the results and all that stuff, man, I would think it would be worse if basically the guy was stripped of office, given what we've seen now.
No, I don't.
You don't think?
I don't. No.
Worse from the groundswell. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he would have no longer been the president.
Right, but all his peeps and these 16 attorney generals, don't you think they would have been sounding the alarm then? I think.
Well, I mean, I think there's a corruption and a self-serving lack of patriotism rampant through the entire Republican Party. I mean, it's just disgusting, really, and it's scary. I mean, it's these. On this podcast, I have ranted and raved about this corrupt Republican Senate, about the terrible senators, about how the good senators have peeled off and left as they saw where this, some of the good senators that Jeff Flake and some of the other people that have left the party, resigned, didn't run again,
died,
just outright left. Well, forget the ones that died, right? And they saw.
You think McCain was a good senator?
Yeah. Yeah, he was a patriotic American civil servant, right? He was a great guy. He was a great man, but he didn't cut and run because he would never do that. But the few out of the many Republican office holders in the legislature, whether they be senators or congressmen, have fled over the course of the last 3 or 4 years because of Trump. They're out of the party. What's left is the scum of the party, and the head scum is Ted Cruz. What a spineless piece of shit this guy turns out to be, right? You go back, was it 10 months ago? I don't know. Go back. Oh no. I'm sorry. Go back 6 years ago now, right? He ran against Trump for the 2016 election, right? And Trump attacked his children and his wife.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. And he called
Not
him.
Trump.
Yeah. And
he wouldn't do that.
And so Ted Cruz, he's a Texan and all this shit. And he railed against Trump and everything. But now, Trump, this lawsuit that we're talking about, this specious, ridiculous, dangerous, seditious
specious
action.
A word?
I don't know. I think I'm trying to think of something else. Specious, I think is what I'm trying to say. So what has to happen? what kind of soul sucking shit has to go on for Ted Cruz to be asked by President Trump to be the one that goes and speaks in front of the Supreme Court for this lawsuit, and that Ted Cruz would agree to be the mouthpiece for the president. It's fucking scary, dude. And I don't want to be. We want to laugh more, but it's hard anything to laugh about. It's hard to find anything to laugh about in this situation. This final part of this presidency is the most horrific, worst thing I've ever seen in politics. I mean, and Donald Trump, we should have, as a people, whether you're Republican or Democrat or Libertarian, making that mistake, or whether you're independent or whatever, you should never have let a piece of shit like Donald Trump into the House. Now,
yeah, but he's gone now.
He isn't gone yet.
He's gonna be gone.
And on his way out, he's doing terrible, terrible things, right? Just as we knew he would when he wasn't convicted, when he was impeached, rightfully so, and not convicted by this dick-sucking Senate, right? Because here's the thing. I get it. They got all the stuff they wanted. They got the giant tax cut. They got the rollback on regulations. They got all that stuff. It's just, this is a self-serving situation where that side, that party, not the Democrats, that party has just had a wholesale sellout just to get their self-serving shit that they wanted. And to get it, the Faustian deal they made with the devil was Donald Trump, who could easily turn out to be the downfall of democracy in this country. And your story about Ethiopia and what you read about and learned about is going on there is where this leads. It's where a guy like Trump, a person of that kind of caliber, that kind of self-serving piece of shit, that's the damage that is done. And we don't have a lot of history to look back on. We've had good presidents. We've had not so good presidents. We never had outright fucking traitors like this.
Okay, so you said a mouthful there, and I agree with most of what you're saying. But I guess at the end of the day, the parallel I was trying to make between an Ethiopian situation and what we're facing here was basically on the speech and the messaging. And I think that you go all the way back to where we started this conversation, where everything you said is true. And everything you said about Trump is true, and the lies that are being spewed, and what they're attempting to do and shift the narrative, right?
Uh-huh.
But look at a country like Ethiopia, where maybe that is true, and you've seen throughout history where voices are silenced when the opposition doesn't like what's being said. So I just have to wonder. You're right. In a perfect world,
this is a valid concern. I agree with you. I mean, because in my fear, to be honest with you, of where this is going, I'm, like is always the case, I'm almost ready to, hey, let's throw out due process. Let's get the head of the snake off here.
That's the knee-jerk reaction, right?
Yeah, let's get it killed. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? I mean, we just need to recognize what this has been, and stop with the nonsense, right? And so how can I relate this back to where we started? Because frankly, it has a lot to do with the whole Facebook thing. The problem with these very powerful social media sites is that in their desire to be completely self-serving, right?
Make a lot of money.
They have failed to take responsibility for things that they need to be responsible for. Like, these platforms are their responsibility. And so if they choose to allow them to be rife with misinformation, straight up lies, dangerous, seditious,
but therein lies the challenge is you're forcing them to be the judge and the jury this is a cut and dry. So this is, of course, the shit that Trump is saying is not valid. But I mean, how many other things are you challenging these media companies to be the judge and the jury to decide if whether or not the information being shared is true?
Every single thing on their site, right? I mean,
go back to what you said earlier. What was the example you gave? The sky is green. Did they have to literally go outside and say, "No, fucker, it's not green. We're taking your post down"?
Well, I think that the trigger there is whether it's dangerous or not, right? So, when you have people on your platform, okay, we'll just try to keep this generic because this is Google, this is Amazon, this is Facebook, this is WhatsApp, this is Twitter. It's all of them, right? And what's coming, we don't even know about yet. When you have, ISIS on your platform and you're letting them say whatever they want, and you claim free speech as the reason
was
why
that their
you
profile?
don't do anything.
ISIS? Did it actually say ISIS?
I don't know. I don't read Farsi. I don't read.
I can understand that. It's
Arabic.
like, hello, we're the terrorists you've all heard about. ISIS here. Give us your likes.
I don't think it takes much to figure out. I mean, and whatever it takes, and they need to do it. Otherwise, they need to face the consequences of it from society, right?
Yeah, I think maybe that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, if society deems Facebook or Twitter as not being beneficial, the way it can help people organize and disseminate information and, bring people together and all that shit, cross borders and stuff. If that's overshadowed by the fact that, dangerous political misinformation, traitors, seditious, motivated players like the entire Republican Party now, and ISIS and all the rest of them are on these platforms, then if society says, hey, you know what? The fact that you're letting these guys run wild makes you too dangerous, you're out. You're off. You're done.
But I think that it's a fine line because I like what you're saying as far as if it's dangerous. I think that's a good way to qualify it. But I mean, fuck, you can get lost in the weeds to try to qualify that. I mean, if you have a terrorist organization,
they do not have a responsibility to provide free speech platforms. That's not their role.
They're a private company. Well, they're a public company.
They're not newspapers.
No, okay? I know, but what I'm saying is they are a for-profit business. They can decide who they want on their platform or not. They have that right. Just like a restaurant.
You don't get to profit from letting dangerous people be prevalent on your platform.
But here's what I'm saying. If you have a criminal organization, I'm agreeing with you. If it's ISIS that's on the terrorist list or any other example you can come up with that kind of fits that category, I agree. They're a wanted terrorist group. You shouldn't give them a free opportunity to have communication on a platform like Facebook. But the trigger word you used was dangerous. There's a whole bunch of other things that are dangerous, like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is not good for you, but I don't condone when governments tell you what you can and can't drink because the sugar police come after you. So this is a bad parallel, but you can see where you got to draw the line somewhere. So you have a terrorist organization you're going to ban, and I would support that because they're a terrorist group and they're dangerous, but you can promote Coca-Cola that's also bad for you. So where do you draw the line? And there's a gazillion examples where these media companies would have to make decisions that aren't so cut and dry like that, right? They're not criminally wanted organizations. I mean, I like the word you use, dangerous. If I could be the judge and the jury myself, I'd wave my magic wand and make these decisions all day. It's a job I'd love to have. But
okay. So let's back it up a little bit. First off, none of the aforementioned media companies bear a responsibility to provide free speech platforms for anybody.
Yeah, they don't owe that to anybody. Is that what you're saying?
That's not their responsibility.
I understand.
So that means that they have the ability to control what and who is on their platforms.
Yes.
And they should exercise that control in a responsible manner. And so one of the ways to judge that is the information that is being put on your platform, is it wrong? Is it not factual? Okay. And then if it is not factual, is it then dangerous?
Who
And that's
decides if
really
it's
the-
factual?
Well,
Sky is green.
Travis,
No, it's not.
Yeah. You know what? I don't want to have that discussion. I'm just going to say that look, I have had this discussion. Some of my nieces and nephews listen to the podcast, so they've been waiting for this to come out, and now I have to say it because I had this discussion with them when they were young. Just some things are right and some things are wrong.
I agree with
we
you.
We all know.
Yeah, we all know what it is.
So
and you know it when you see it.
That's the end of that discussion. Okay, everybody, we're not Martians. You know, we're not. Everybody knows what those things are. So we need to. One of the most dangerous things that's happened come out of this Trump administration came from that fucking bitch that recently stepped down from Trump. She was an advisor, the one whose husband I forgot
Kellyanne Conway.
Kellyanne Conway. When she came out and said that, so look, this all started when the pictures of the inauguration showed that obviously the Trump inauguration was poorly attended.
What? No, it was the largest one in history.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And Kellyanne Conway's response to that when questioned about just when someone said, Kelly, you seen the pictures, you know what the truth is. And she's like, well, these are just all alternative facts. That's the most dangerous thing that any dumb shit political operative has ever said on the public airways. And if I was in control, I would prosecute her for that. Because that has started this nonsense about nobody can fuck all that. Just fuck it. We know what's right, what's true, what's right and wrong. We know when it's false. You know what it is, Travis. I don't know. Maybe it is. So, going forward, we need to stop with the alternative facts. Okay. And then, so for these media platforms that I think what the ask is going to be of them is, hey, if we're going to let you grow crazy big and, not let you crush your competition, you're going to have to take more responsibility and try to keep really easy to spot false information off your motherfucking platforms, or we're going to shut your asses down.
But
that's
that
how
is,
that goes.
Listen, in a perfect world, I agree with most everything that you're saying. I like the qualifying word you use, dangerous. I agree that there's...
Is it real? Is it truthful? And is it dangerous? Is it truthful and is it dangerous?
Right. But you have to, and I like to play devil's advocate. If you gave me 10 examples, perhaps, I don't know, maybe I would agree with you on all of them. But I like to play devil's advocate because the reality is that as humans, we disagree with one another. And inevitably in governments and positions of authority, you have people deciding what other people should do. So I get it. Again, if we laid out a list of things, we probably would agree. But I mean, do you agree the government should tell you what you eat or drink?
No, but that has nothing to do with something that's a fact.
Well,
facts are facts.
Yeah,
things
that are
real and true are true.
What about if somebody posted on Facebook that we can't eat real meat anymore? We can't eat real. We can't eat cows because that's killing the environment.
No. Give me an example of something that is a fact that you think falls into this no man's land of reality that you're talking about.
We'll go back to the sugar example that I gave. You have several places in this country that have...
Make a statement, and I'll tell you whether it's fact or not.
What do you mean?
Make any statement. Sugar is bad for you.
Yeah, it is bad.
Okay, that is a fact.
Yes.
It's correct.
So should the sugar companies be allowed to...
That's not a statement. That's a question.
Well, I'm asking you
the question.
I'm not
talking about... Look,
here's the statement. Here's the statement.
I'm talking about accepting things that are real. Just
this
facts.
is real. Here's the statement. Drink this Coca-Cola. It's good for you. Or you'll enjoy it. Drink it. You're going to enjoy it. But it's bad for you.
That's not a statement.
That's a statement.
That's some other part of language. That's you're telling me to do something.
That's a statement. That's what a statement is.
Coca-Cola. Soft drinks are bad for you. Soft drinks are good for you.
No. If you're the soft drink company, you're selling...
Which one's true?
It's true that it's bad for you. But
Okay,
they're
then
telling
that's
you to
it.
drink it because you'll like it.
Well, then
Cigarettes.
You look. You have to. Here's the thing: we have to have the basic fact to agree on to make decisions.
The
Travis,
basic
our
fact.
thing. What's our? You wrote it, so you
Yeah.
say it. If we're all thinking
The same.
like dipshits, then someone's a dipshit. Or what? Wait, what's our saying?
If we're all thinking the same, then someone is not thinking, and that's the
Right, but that
problem.
doesn't apply to facts. Okay, sugar's bad for you. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And if you tell me that, hey, even though sugar's bad, you should drink Coke because that'll be good for you. You have to take the fact, the mutually accepted fact, and make a decision about whether you agree with that statement or not. That's not the same as like disagreeing, saying something that is a fact is not a fact.
It's
And that's what's been going on.
It's the same in the sense that what we're really talking about is where do you draw the line in what messages get shared? You know, so if it's Trump spreading
Well,
misinformation and alternative facts, yeah, of course. But you
There's no such thing as alternative facts. I mean, I think that's on our website.
could be. But where
And
do
that
you,
makes it
where do you-
true.
where do you draw the line?
Oh,
That's
look,
all I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, but I think it corrupts the. I think it. You know, I know you think corruption is my favorite word. I think
I like cocksucker was your favorite word.
Well, wait a minute, easy now. I think that. So my premise of this discussion is that you know, for our own good, we need to stop debating whether people can have alternative facts. They can't. Things are either true or they're not true, right? And so you need to use that to determine your opinion about things. So if you're trying to get me to be confused by having a soda company say something to me that is not true. I mean, if a soda company says, hey, sugar in unlimited quantities has no negative effect on your health, so drink a lot of sugary sodas. It'll be good for you. I'm just going to have to say, no, that's wrong.
Yeah, I know.
And
Listen,
you know who's making that decision? I am.
I know, and I'm not really disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to, have this conversation. But, what you just said a second ago, facts are facts. That's only really true in mathematics. It doesn't always work in logic and reason. So again, just last Ethiopian example, they didn't have an election.
Fact.
They didn't have an election. So then is the fact that the current president is not a valid president because they didn't have an election? He is
I
or
think that
was
might
the
be a
incumbent.
fact.
It might be.
Yeah, I think
but
that
it
might be true.
be. But we don't know. It's not a
Well,
fact.
they have to decide that for themselves.
And
but,
every society decides.
but I don't
what
even hear a
facts are.
fact in there. I don't hear what's the fact in there we're debating about in that example.
Is the guy a legitimate president because they didn't have an election?
Well, I mean, the only factor would be, was there an election or wasn't there?
Right, that's a true statement. So again,
So there
where's
wasn't an
where's the
election.
Is what's the logical part would say? Well, did the guy pass his term, and you didn't have an election, so therefore he's not the president. But then who is? I mean, it's fucked up.
I'm not sure. I mean, for me, the only fact to be discussed in that statement is, was there an election or not? And if somebody says, hey, there was an election, and the other one says there was no election, and then they both can't be right. So one of them's right in that case. And the one that said there's no election is the one that's right. If there was no election, then there's probably no legitimate president.
Right, but then who is the president? Does it just go back to...
That's a different question.
Can we sell them President Trump? Can we barter for him? Can we offer him up for a trade?
I don't want anything for him. Just get him out of here. I'd love to see him exiled to Ethiopia. That would be great. They would probably cut him up.
Let me ask you another
To
question.
the people.
If you love meat, you love to eat animals.
I do.
If your government told you couldn't eat any more animals because they're bad, would you do it? Would you stop eating animals?
No. The answer would be no. So, I'm not sure what that.
I'm just asking you.
What part of that theory that advances, but I'll be happy to answer the question.
I mean,
No.
What do you understand this? Cows are bad for us because somehow
understand
bad.
everything about cows, right? I mean, it's bad for the environment. I mean, if we truly give a shit, we should stop eating, especially beef.
What's the argument?
But-
Because they take up too much space and we produce too much food to feed the animals?
Well, they, the carbon footprint left by raising animals for food.
Wouldn't that be a hoof print?
I mean, look, meat in general is not good for you. I love to eat meat, but if you want to make a statement to me that meat is good for you, I'd have to disagree.
Meat or red meat?
My fact is that meat, any kind of meat, eating flesh is not good for you. And this is something called cognitive dissonance, right? I still eat meat, even though I knew that.
But how is it not good?
I always knew
Isn't lean
cigarettes were
protein
bad
good for you?
No, it's not.
It's not?
No, not. There's no look. We don't need to eat flesh. It's not. It's inherently bad for you, right? The less you eat, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that we need to eat it to survive. I'm not arguing that the
Right.
less
There's
we eat, the
nothing-
better. But it is, you need some form of protein, don't
And
you?
you can get protein out of plants. And
I know, but I mean,
Plants
are you
are
saying
much
only
better
red
for
meat?
you.
What about fish? Isn't that meat?
It is flesh. I'm talking about any kind of flesh.
So eating
Okay.
fish is bad for you.
You fish, chicken, anything, and
That's
any
not
kind
true.
of meat. Any kind of meat that you have to cook is bad for you too, right?
Well, how's that right?
If you have a choice, eating sashimi is probably the healthiest possible way you could eat some kind of animal flesh, right? But I mean, there are risks.
So
right?
what's the argument that with the cows is bad for the carbon footprint?
Well, that's a different argument.
Yeah, what is it?
That has nothing to do with whether they're good for you health wise, right?
Yeah, red meat has been associated with heart problems. I understand that, but who doesn't love a good steak every now and then? But why is it
Right,
bad for
right.
the environment?
Well, because the amount of plants that you have to grow, the amount of farming you have to do, and all the carbon footprint that goes into harvesting that to feed these animals and then produce so little food is just not a good equation. Right?
Well, it's not little food, right? Can't you make a cow last a whole year, hatchet it up?
All in all, though, a whole lot more grain went into that cow before he became steaks, and that grain would have fed a lot more people. I mean, none of this really matters until we have, until we start to have food shortages, and then it's gonna matter a lot, and that is probably almost inevitable. But none of that is making me not eat meat. But the negative health impacts from meat of all kinds, and it's whether it's chicken, fish, or beef, or pork, or dog, or horse, or whatever, it's not good for you. There's no way to say that is good for you. I mean, you can eat it, and it won't. One meal of it won't kill you, but definitely it's not a healthful. It's not a healthful, nutritious food.
Well, I certainly don't agree with that. I mean, I know you could make certain examples like cows in particular, of course, but I know people have played around with their diets and complete vegetarians to vegans to what's just fish, pescatarian.
And I don't advocate any of that or any of it. I don't advocate any kind of. I'm not advocating any way. I'm just telling you, the less meat you eat, the more healthy, the better it is for you. So that's what I mean. For me, I think a reasonable amount of meat is like 2 to 3 times a week, one meal 2 to 3 times a week, not 3 times a day, 7 days a week.
No, I understand. I mean, I personally have made adjustments to my diet, but I think when you say it's better for you, I think that statement is relative to what you're trying to do, what your health condition is. I mean, if you're a bodybuilder, which I'm not, you're not going to be a vegetarian.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to shit talk bodybuilders. I mean, what the fuck? Who wants to be a bodybuilder anyway?
I don't know, dude. I watched.
And I'm not claiming there's no video here that anybody that's hearing this is seeing, but I'm not claiming that eating less meat is making me slim and trim or anything like that. But there are other things besides the amount of weight that you carry that, have to go into your health and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, but look, I don't know. We got kind of off track
I eat,
here.
I eat some of that stuff. the fake burgers, and
I haven't tried it yet. Isn't it good?
yeah, it is good. I mean, there's a couple of them. I can't even think of the names, but
Yeah,
they
Beyond
try to,
Beef.
Beyond Beef, yeah, all that stuff. Try to make it look like a hamburger, color
Is
and
it any
texture.
good? Is it any different than the stuff that's always been around?
Well, I don't know what's in it. Like I had one that was, I think it was sweet potato based. So they could, you form a patty and make a crust with it, and it's good. I mean, I haven't had one that was terrible. It's not like eating, Play-Doh or anything.
My favorite kind of meat substitute so far, and I haven't tried any of the newer generation ones, the Beyond Beast and those, is soy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'll eat tofu. There's plenty of Asian dishes that, feature tofu. Yeah. That's a different form of soy. But, there's a product called Grillers, and I use it in place of browned crumbled hamburger, right? Can't tell the difference. It's impossible. And there's no meat in it. So, I mean, that allows me to eat many meatless meals, right, that I would otherwise have to use beef for. And so in all ways, when I eat that, it's better to eat soy. It's better for the environment. It's more healthy for me to eat soy than it is meat. And I can still eat the same taco, taste the same, mouth feels the same, all that. But I'm not an advocate for that stuff.
Is it harder to eat meat with your wooden tooth?
Yeah. Some people are going to get the impression that I actually got some wooden teeth. So, which I didn't really do anything to dispel by putting pictures of wooden teeth on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I think we sussed out the whole truth and the
alternative
whole
truth.
Yeah, alternative fact nonsense. I mean,
here's what it boils down to.
Are we basically on the same page, and you're just trying to bust my chops?
Yes,
or do you really not understand?
And no.
Okay.
But for me, it always comes down to really one basic principle, and I like what you said. That right is right and wrong is wrong.
I'm glad you like that because
left is wrong. In the political sense.
Oh man, I actually held up my hands when I talked to my nieces and nephews, and
so you're not going to like this.
Yeah,
but really, what I always find myself, the lens that I look at it through is, is it right to be told what to do? And I blow it out of proportion, and I'm really looking at it from a big picture.
I really think that's the key. That's where I get. I mean, I think we should have this discussion again after I've had a chance to kind of think it through. I mean, when you bring it through the lens of, hey, somebody telling somebody else what to do, I don't see that as the same discussion about, whether we should be wary of, alternative facts or not, and how important it is that we as a society share a common group of facts. And it happens to be that we don't lose the ability to discern nonsense from reality.
But it also happens to be that the truth is that we agree probably more than we disagree. Right, and I think that's.
I want it to stay that way.
But that's not unique to you and I. I think that is pretty much commonplace with most people's relationships. And then when you get politics involved, things get fucking crazy.
Well, I think in the bigger picture, the problem I'm having, the danger I see is that what used to be in the fringe, what we used to consider the fringe of any idea or politics or whatever, has been brought and stuck in mainstream and then been argued by powerful people that it's true.
That's always the problem. People who are in a position of power or influence.
But we've always, as a country, as a nation, as a people, in all of my life, we've always been able to see through the nonsense and figure out what was real. I'm seeing that start to degrade. And this is due in large part. I mean, listen, it's not nothing when 160 Republican legislators sign on to a lawsuit that is absolute and total fucking nonsense. And they sign on to it and give it validity. That's dangerous. That's a wrong choice on their part.
That's and we've talked about this before too. It's not nothing that a large group of people in this country voted for Trump, and a large group of people disagree on almost everything, and it's not just this country. We're not unique in that sense. It's shit all over the world. So we have problems. We have real problems that are not just Trump. They're not going to go away when he goes away. We're not going to go away.
He's not the problem. He's the symptom. So I get that. I totally do get that. Although we have to get him the fuck out of here.
Well, the clock
it
is
has
ticking.
to happen pretty quick. 40 days to
Yeah.
Did you hear this?
40 days and 40 nights.
They're going to deep clean the White House on Inauguration Day.
What were they going to sanitize it?
Yes. Well, you know the term deep clean, right? You know what people mean when they say that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if what you call it, the guys with the green trucks came to your house and did a deep clean. I mean, they're going to go in while all the inauguration shit's going on, and before Biden and all his people and all the new people that work there come in, they're going to go through the whole White House and deep clean every surface in it to get the Trump scum out of that fucking place.
What do they use to get the orange self tanner off?
I think it's going to be mostly steam. So, all right,
dude. Well, we've had enough for today.
Yep, that's good. That's a good discussion. I love that. I love those subjects. So we didn't go that far into antitrust, but I'll read up on it. We can.
Well, listen. Here's the message: eat your meat with every meal. That's all I have to say.
Oh my God.
When you look at, you look at other countries. That's the other thing too. And I said this on a couple of podcasts ago. But Americans, I think, can get lost in the fact that they think America is the world, and we're not. And when you look at food around the world and the origins of people's diets and what they eat, a lot of it has to do with availability, poverty.
Yeah, most of it's not meat. I can tell you that around the world.
Well, there is. Look at all of the dishes that you can identify to certain cultures that are either beef or pork.
Mostly the rich people in those countries eat those meat dishes, and mostly the poorer people in those countries, and typically healthier people, eat more.
But a lot of the scraps that were left over from the rich people ended up, turning into recipes that we all know and love. So I'm just saying,
Absolutely.
Here we are in this country ready to get rid of fucking cows because it's bad, but there's still cows in other countries, and I'm still going to enjoy a steak. Medium rare.
What am I having tonight? I'm thinking, am I eating meat tonight? Wait a minute. We've already decided. Oh yeah, I'm going Mexican food tonight. And I will be able to do that without consuming any meat.
But are you trying not to have meat, or just happens to not be what you're going to choose?
Here's the thing. So I'm going to go to this Mexican restaurant, and I'm going to order a tostada with no meat. And I'm going to do that because I love that.
Is a tostada with no meat a tostada?
It is a tostada.
If a tree falls in the
meat
woods.
is really an additional, right? Tostada is a hard tortilla with beans and lettuce on it. Really, that's what it is. And then you throw meat on it, it's really something else. But
my big decision is one ice cube or no ice cubes in my tequila.
Is it tequila on a Friday night?
I think it must be on this Friday.
All right. Well,
all right,
play the music. All right. See you guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.